Thank you. So I'm going to be the moderator for this first session. I should call it the first historical session because we've never really done virtual festival before. It's a learning curve for us. We are used to, interaction face to face, but courtesy of these challenges that COVID has presented to us, we have to go digital. And today, it's my pleasure to host two eminent speakers, Professor Evaristus Irandu and Clement Waigwa. And maybe before I host them, I should also introduce myself. Not everybody knows me. My name is James Shikwati. I'm the director of the Inter-Region Economic Network. And we have a very powerful topic. I'm sure this topic is relevant not only to us as the Inter-Region Economic Network, but to all players in the tourism industry and to the Kenya as a government and as a people whose economy has been impacted, to look for ways of how we can reimagine our tourism and food experience going forward. We know that Kenya earns close to 163 billion annually from tourism. We receive visitors close to 3 million actually every year, those coming in from out. And we know that at least our beds every year, 4 million are used. And every time people sleep, they must eat. And that's why we were picking on this topic of the food experience. We are aware that many of the sleeping areas would be serving mostly foods from across the world. And we thought it will be important to try and introduce an element of how do we also incorporate our indigenous foods into the tourism experience, so that the tourists don't just come to watch the big five or the migrating animals, but they also have the food experience that can make them come back to the country and enable other sectors to thrive. So with me today, I have two eminent speakers. We'll be having Professor Evaristus Irandu go first. And just as a way of introduction, Professor Evaristus is a professor of travel, tourism, and economic geography at the Department of Geography and Environment Studies, University of Nairobi. He has written quite a lot in this particular sector, but I would want just to allow him to introduce himself so that he can tell us a little bit more. And each of our speakers will have 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll be opening this to question and answer at a later stage. So, Professor Evaristus, you're welcome to get started.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The chairman has actually done a very good introduction, and I don't want to, eat into my time, giving myself a lot of introduction. I am a professor of travel and tourism and geography and also environmental studies in the University of Nairobi. I have done research, training, and consultancy, as well as publication for the last 25 years. And I have a lot of experience in this area of tourism. We have trained quite a number of people now in the industry. I am a person who is interested in international tourism, ecotourism, cultural heritage, which includes also food tourism. And we are now entering into other areas of domestic tourism. So if you allow, I can start. Chairman, before I really delve into the topic, allow me to thank your organization most sincerely for organizing this very important special interest tourism event in our country. It's actually a milestone, and I am very proud of this. It is, in my view, one of the biggest leap forward steps which will create a lot of interest in this area and give us some promising future. So I thank you for inviting me to participate and be a panelist. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 3 messages I want to share with the participants. I'll first of all mention them, and then I'll enumerate on each one of them. The first message is that, as the chairman has said, tourism is the golden goose that lays golden eggs for Kenya. He has quoted a very important figure that tourism answers 163 billion shillings. That was the figure last year. This year, without COVID, we would have expected the figure to be much higher. Unfortunately, because COVID-19 is a global pandemic, it has devastated tourism, and Kenya has not been spared. We expect very little from tourism this year. We are informed by the Ministry of Tourism and all officials that in the last 4 months since COVID started, we have lost close to 8 billion shillings, Mr. Chairman. And this means we have lost a half of what we gained in the whole of 2019. This is very terrible. And as a result of this, hotels have closed, our national parks were empty, campsites were empty, everything came to a standstill. And it's not for Kenya alone, it is global. So I am saying that the first message is that it is now time for us to diversify our tourism products. International tourists who have been bringing a lot of money to us and creating jobs and so on have gone. Why? Because of travel restrictions, airspace were closed, everything was at a standstill. These people are not there, so we cannot continue to rely on international tourism, and I'll be elaborating on that. So first of all, it is high time we diversified our tourism products, and I won't be mentioning some of these. The second message I want to share with you is that as we continue to revive our industry, we need also to look at technology, ICT, including virtual tourism, to be able to position ourselves on the global market, because tourism is a very competitive industry. Now with the COVID-19 and the international tourists going, we expect that the disposable incomes also have shrunken, and very few will be venturing to travel. Countries will be competing for those few tourists, so we must venture into the technology, use virtual tourism in order to access that market. And the other message is that for the operators, they need to embrace innovation. Now, once I say that, Chair, allow me now to elaborate. I will be beginning with how we diversify our tourism products. As I've said, and almost at the danger of repeating myself, COVID-19 has ravaged tourism globally, not in Kenya alone. And therefore, the numbers of international tourist arrivals have been dwindling. And that one, the chairman has elaborated, and I'm also doing that. We are informed by the ministry officials, the Ministry of Tourism and all of officials, that in August alone, we experienced 92%, 91.2 up to 92% drop in tourist arrivals, international tourist arrivals. And the impact of this, economic and social and so on, is immense. And we have already alluded to that. We are also saying that apart from us depending on international tourism, it is high time we looked elsewhere, because as some of you will be aware, in July-October period is high season. This is when you have wild-beast migration, rare spectacle on Earth taking place. There were a few people to see that. Even domestic tourists were not there because of lockdowns and so on. So it is high time then we diversified our tourism products, and we need therefore, Chair, to re-strategize and rethink about the tourism industry. And this means we have to look at certain products. The first product I would like us to promote now moving forward is developing tourism and domestic tourism. I have already said reliance on international tourism will not help us recover, and this crisis is not the only one, Chair. There may be many other equivalents of COVID, and therefore, if we don't have sustainable tourism products in the future, we may find that we have no tourism industry at all. So we need to offer attractive domestic packages to attract our own tourists to travel and see what the country has to offer. I am saying this because domestic tourism, Chair, is globally considered to be the one which is recovering very fast in Europe, North America, and Asia, and so on. And in Kenya here, we would expect that domestic tourism may be the panacea to our current problem. What do we mean by this? We would like to see virtually in every county, people coming up with attractive domestic packages, either for weekdays, weekends, or public holidays, attractive ones. Just like we have been offering attractive packages for international travelers. Let's have our own domestic packages. Chair, I sent this another international conference 25 years ago. I said we need to attract domestic tourism, and some participants almost insulted me, saying, asking me, jeering, where are they? Where are the domestic tourists? I did not, as a scholarly thought, I meekly said, I am one of them. Give me an attractive package and I'll go to a 5-star hotel as a professor and spend a few days there and enjoy what Kenya has to offer. If we did that 25 years ago, Chair, a quarter century ago, we would not be in this kind of quagmire, in my view. So let us tap the growing middle class people in Kenya. There are many people, maybe the chairman is one of them, the professor and others. Let us be given packages so that we can sample what our country has to offer. It's not just for international tourists alone. Let's go to 5-star, 3-star, good packages. The next thing that we need to look at is cultural heritage, and this is where food tourism comes in. Kenya is a multi-ethnic country. This is our comparative advantage here. This is our number one advantage, which many countries don't have. This provides cultural diversity. Food is a cultural component, and therefore we need to provide food experience, as you said, in various counties, in our food festivals, and this is the first of its kind. I encourage you to continue organizing many more in our various cities, towns, and every county. And this is our comparative advantage, I emphasize, because each community has its own image, unique cultural aspects, and food is one of them. So we need to develop a wide range of food products, local cuisines, and this can make Kenya a gastronomic haven. I'm saying this because we compete in South Africa. We know South Africa has the big 6, including the Wales. We have the big 5. But they have about 23 or 24 cultural groups there and so on. We have 40 plus ethnic groups. This is our advantage, and we need to make sure that we promote food tourism. Let's have food festivals on a regular basis, maybe at county level, at the national level, and also cultural festivals, which every county is organizing these days. I have attended some, and the chair found that in these cultural festivals, they showcase music, dance, artifacts, folklore, but food is neglected. It is high time we promoted gastronomy. And various tour operators and so on should also package local cuisines into their itineraries. KTB should be able to help in organizing these. We need also to ensure that in those cultural festivals, food is showcased, not just as a byway issue. And then I am saying that food tourism is sustainable, Chair. You are buying local things. You are not buying, importing cognac and champagne from far away. These will reduce carbon footprint. We are talking about global warming and climate change. I'm a geographer, I'm an environmentalist. We need to reduce that carbon, the footprint, or CO carbon dioxide and the carbon monoxide emissions and so on. Again, it generates income for the local people. Yeah, those who are cooking in various parts of the country, all counties, they are gaining some income. They are alleviating poverty. They are improving their livelihoods. That is social and economic sustainability. And the other one of carbon footprint is environmental sustainability. Let me mention briefly virtual tourism. I'm not an expert in this one, but I am saying that as COVID-19 is now moving away from being pandemic to endemic, is within the communities now, we need to market our product, particularly food, using virtual tourism. You can, here we are calling upon people to be creative. I know food is one item where you have to travel, although I'm talking of reducing carbon footprint. To taste the food, you have to travel to the destination. So if international tourists have to come, there must be a way of trying to make sure that instead of them coming, they first of all taste in a virtual way our foods and so on. I don't know how you'll be able to make someone smell sweet food and so on. That you can discuss, but that can be done. We can organize game views. And remember, there are different time zones, so we have to synchronize. If you organize a game view in Masai Mara to see the Big Five at 6 a.m. in Kenya, you have to consider who is the target. If it's an international tourist in the USA, remember that they may be having 6, 5, 7 hours difference. So you have to organize it somewhere in the afternoon. So as coincide with him in the morning hours, otherwise they'll be amazed. We want them to have a feel, although it's a virtual of you know, what we have to offer. And the advantage is that if it's of something Big Five, you can find that when you're a tour guide, you may take 2-3 hours moving in the bush to get all the Big Five. But with the virtual tourism, you can easily, you know, simulate that, and they see them within 10-15 minutes. That is cheap. It's you know, it's you know, saving time and so on. So we need to do that kind of thing. Even the museums can do that. They can, you know, try to present a whole cultural.
Professor, try to move closer to the mic because you are fading off somehow.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, so we are saying that we need also to organize these virtual hot air balloon safaris. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she told me that her only child, you know, these days they are at home. We are waiting for the opening of schools. They organize school parties to Spain. And the children really felt that they were in Spain, and this was done virtually. We can do that, and the various operators can be able to help us. Am I okay now, Chair? Yeah, yeah. Then
you're okay. Go ahead and try to maybe use the next 3 minutes so that then we get Clement.
Yeah, I'm almost there now.
We can have a conversation amongst ourselves, yes.
Very good, yeah. So I'm now turning to the third message of innovation. And to quicken up, I'll just mention, say, the hotels. Hotels and restaurants should embrace innovation. They should, you know, try to adopt this kind of automated technology or automation. They can use, they can invest in robotics. Robots are being used in Rwanda, you know, for carrying sanitizers and so on. So you can introduce them in our hotels so that they can be used in housekeeping activities, in food and beverage services and luggage handling, you know, that kind of thing. We want the chair to reduce some contact. We want to adopt contactless kind of activities. We can even invest in our remote and smart watches, which can be used for opening the doors. We're not touching. It is a watch. Open the door for you, or open the TV for you in case someone else and touched. These are some of the things that we want. Introducing cashless payment, and also trying to introduce smartphones that can be used and so on. In conclusion, Chair, I'm saying this COVID-19 pandemic is unprecedented in our history. Yeah, and all the same, tourism is resilient. It will rebound back. And what we are saying is we need to invest in our domestic tourism, as I said, and venture tourism and so on. And we will see this country reviving its tourism industry. And there's no single bullet, silver bullet, no single solution. Let us combine strategies. I thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Professor, for your contribution. And I know we are also, we joined here with the Wilson Balongo from Kabarak University, I think Department of Innovation. I think at some point I'll call upon him to make some remarks because you've really emphasized on the question of innovation, and Wilson Balongo chairs an innovation bit. Wilson, I'll come to you later. But for now, I'd like to invite Clement Waigwa, the founder of Virgin Explorer, to share with us. You've heard what Professor said. I mean, he's making lots of proposals on how to reduce the carbon footprint. He's talking about how to use virtual technology. And we know tourism employs mostly watu wa mkono, so I don't know. Are we going to say that Professor's propositions are a threat to jobs? But Clement, let's hear from you. And then from there, we'll get some comment from Wilson Balonga, then we open up the conversation. Welcome, Clement.
Thank you, Chairman. I think I have to agree with whatever Professor said. Probably he has picked most of my points, but now I think I can go straight to to the main point regarding the food experience. Probably I'll skip the rest.
You also prefer to be off video, or I know Professor had requested special permission not to be seen because he's filming from, he said, a very special room.
Yeah, okay,
So,
no problem.
Okay,
no problem.
Nice, good to you. Okay, thank you.
So I'm saying I agree with whatever Professor said. And so the bit that he has talked about that I was supposed to speak about, I'll skip and probably just go to the food experience. So what I'll say is that we need to rethink our supply chain for a diverse and healthy diet. Because for one, tourism is all about, whenever we have guests, even be it international or domestic touring locally, we have to ensure that the food they eat, you see food plays a very big, role. Because if you take, for instance, like I'm a tour operator, I take guys for a tour somewhere. And if the food experience is not good, that messes the whole experience. However, you have done everything to the perfection. I mean, when the food bit is not done well, now the whole experience becomes a waste. So when we rethink the supply chain for a diverse, healthy diet, that will work very well. You see, like nowadays, most people don't really focus on things like fruits, greens, which when somebody focus more on them, you also have reduced health issues. So the other thing I have to mention is will be about reimagining and redesigning our food system. So we as the tour people, sometimes let's focus like when we are doing things like camping trips. When you're doing camping trips, basically we carry our chef with us. And for some of us who can cook, we just try to make the whole experience count. So like the guests can just come, we tell them, okay, this is how we cook. That's a certain meal, for instance. So we start from the dish prep, I mean, everything. We show them how the preparation is done until cooking to the tasting. So that bit itself creates an experience. And nowadays, as per, you see, like the people who are traveling nowadays, they are really looking for experiences. They don't just want the traditional way of doing things. They want to be part of the process, part of whatever is happening. And by then they are able to relate. Okay, so if this is done like this, okay, I'm able to relate from point A to point C in terms of how things I have been imagining them on my own. So to make it, so when I come back now to the COVID thing, COVID really to me, COVID was an eye-opener to most of us, probably to everyone. Because for instance, if I look at what tour operators have been doing previously, most people have been doomed to selling the safaris, which is okay. But now, after the COVID came and people are not able to sell like safaris the way they have been used to, they have started to rethink how they can do things differently. For us as a company, our main niche is we do farm tours. So basically we are on the farm doing farming and we train people how to do a couple of things. from tea, coffee, name them all in that happening on the farm. And we also feature some culinary aspect on what we do. Like we train people to do like some simple local cuisines, as well as some that we have born from other places, because we also travel. And I think I'll stop my at that point. Thank you.
So Clement, you raise a very important point there, because I can see why you started by agreeing with the professor 100%, because professor says that to kickstart our tourism sector, to reimagine the tourism sector, it's a matter of us repackaging to activate domestic tourism. And it seems like your tour farm already, you are doing something to this effect, where you're saying that you as a farm tours. Could you give us examples? I mean, farm tours to which parts of the country? You know, we have 47 counties, so do you take people to Mandera to know how to herd camels, and maybe to Kajiado about pastoralism, and maybe to Western about sugar production, and maybe to Kericho and tea and stuff like this?
Okay, what we do mainly, we started in Kirinyaga. So Kirinyaga is where we do most of our farming activities. That's where we do most of the farm tours with the client. And later last year, we started part of the Maasai land, that is right through the Guruman side. So we have some farmers working closely with farmers, because we work closely with rock farmers because they own the farm. So for us, we just give the concept, what we do, and we tell them, like, when we bring guests here, this is what we want them to learn. And like we spend like 4 or 3 days. So those 3 days, every day has an activities. So if we plan like we are using jembes and pangas to prepare the land, we have to prepare like a specific space. Then we plan the next day what we are going to do. If we are planning to plant something, or we are preparing a nursery for like a specific thing, basically that's what we are doing. So we are trying to expand slowly to other counties, but currently we are only doing Guruman and Kirinyaga.
Okay. Professor Irando, if you are online, I think you've heard what Clement has said. He's already giving you an idea of the packaging you had talked about, at least an example where he says we could think of farm tours to activate domestic tourism, and now looking at our international arrivals, the 3 million. Professor, what would be your input to Clement if he has to package in such a way that we are driving both the domestic and incorporating the international?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You can hear me?
Yes, Professor, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with the Clement. In fact, I'm impressed to see that our own local tour companies are beginning to become innovative and target local tourists. And of course, as you say, they can expand it to international tourism. To hand to that, I can say that what we need to do is, apart from tour companies packaging those kind of products, farm tours and so on, I would go a bit further to extend the value chain and supply chain, and say that even the farms themselves, like the Kericho tea plantations, or what we call the Kericho tea table, Chair, it's a kind of a tea heritage. A country like Sri Lanka has been growing tea for the last 150, close to 100, 250 years, and people go there to see tea farms, but they don't just go around being taught how tea is grown and harvested and processed. They are also shown how the tea producers are also incorporating other products. So I'm trying to recommend something like agro-tourism, where even the tea plantations, the coffee plantations and so on, instead of relying on their own monoculture, their own products, sugarcane, tea and so on, they can have other activities within, yeah? Some can have horse riding. You have asked about the pastoralist community in northern Kenya. There could be horse riding, donkey riding, this kind of things, and they can be done within the farm. If it's, we don't have, of course, wine production here. In the Cape Province, people travel to various, vineyards, and they taste the wines produced on the farm. So these are some of the things that I would like to say, but I support this idea very well, but let's invest in agro-tourism so that when the Clement takes the tourists there, they will be able to see what's also going on and they will be able to have more experience.
Okay, Professor, could you also just elaborate a little bit by what you meant by packaging? Because you see, listening to Clement, he says, well, we carry our own chef if we go camping, and if the chef is good, then the camping experience is super exciting. He's talked about the farm tours where they can even assist the farmer clear the field and put up some crop. You had talked of packaging for domestic tourism, and we have 47 counties. Is there an example you can give? Because to just give you a story, somebody you mentioned about middle class, and the middle class will tell you that when they eat indigenous vegetables, they are bitter to the mouth, and therefore they don't want to eat this vegetable, you know? But it takes the middle class growing up to my age, probably when I'm 50 now, I start appreciating that bitter vegetable because I'm told that's a healthy meal. So what did you have in mind when you said packaging for domestic tourism?
Well, you see, when I was presenting, I said that we are a multi-ethnic community. We have 40 plus ethnic communities in the country, and each community has its own food culture. So even the pastoralist communities are talking about, they have their own food packages and, gastronomy, and these can be repackaged in such a way that even if some people may not want to taste a raw blend or something, there's another way those people can be innovative enough to make the product more appealing to other people from other parts of the country and other parts of the world. But I'm just picking plant because you are saying you are picking bitter vegetables like saga. That one I don't like also, but I am talking to plant, that kind of thing. So I'm picking plant also because if you are to tell me to, to go to a Manyata, Masai Manyata and I taste raw plant, I will say yak. Yeah. And yak here is an animal. Many people don't treat it as an animal called yak, Y-A-K, very ugly animal in the Mount Everest areas. So okay. I'll say yak, but to the local community, to the Maasai community, that is a delicacy, it's nutritious and so on. So there's a way we can also repackage that plant to make it attractive. Like, I don't have the English word for this, I can call it African sausage, mutura. I think you're aware of mutura. Where you have blood, you put somewhere, and it's a package, and that's very, very delicious. That's what I'm talking about when I say repackaging, that kind of thing.
Thank you, Professor. So I can see, to our viewers who are present now and those who will be viewing these clips later, I think we have a lot of work to do in terms of packaging for domestic tourism, to unbundle that word, packaging, what it means, what needs to be done. But now I'd like just to bring in Wilson Balongo from Kabarak University Department of Innovation. You've heard what Professor said, and he's really dwelt heavily on virtual testing of food, virtual game drives. He's even given an example of some family that had a virtual party while here in Kenya, but with other young people in Spain, and they felt like they were already in Spain. How do we bring in the aspect of innovation, just having listened to the two speakers in terms of how we can reimagine tourism and food experience in Kenya? Wilson, please. You can unmute yourself.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much, Chairman, and all the panelists. It's my pleasure and honor to be in this meeting. I will say that I'm happy that such a forum is taking place, especially at this particular time when the world is facing a very serious pandemic, which has also affected food production, which was also a big issue. We're being told by, is it 2050, we'll be required to produce, is it double, or rather the demand for food will be double what is there right now. So I'm impressed with this platform, though I joined late, I didn't hear much from Professor, but the little that I've heard from Professor and Clement, I'm impressed. So, and from our department, rather Directorate of Research and Innovation at Kaparak, actually we were also dealing on the issue of food, innovation in food. And I think also the same, I can get some insights from this platform, whereby we are at a point whereby we need to transform from the issue of food being a necessity for survival. Let us use it also as a transform, rather using food to transform and change lives. Like for example, people can even now get or do business apart from the usual whereby somebody opens up a kiosk and sells food. Just the way Clement has said, I never thought of something like food tourism. I'm impressed. Yeah, so such a kind of platforms or areas that will wish to engage more. So I'll be putting more of my.
Maybe Wilson, if I try to pick your brain, you've just heard Professor say he cannot have saga, it's bitter. He cannot have, let's say, the raw blood in Masai Manyata. What kind of innovation should we be looking at? Because, I mean, if you've traveled the world, you've seen how other countries would be adding spices and making food that would probably would taste bitter, but then they add some nice other ingredients to make it even more palatable to the palate. Is there something that you think your department would think about so that the food is more acceptable to the middle class and the international tourist?
Well, in due course, I'll be responding to that after I think critically about that. But some of the things that we're doing on food is, for example, how can we use food to create jobs other than the ordinary jobs of opening up hotels and so on. I agree with Waigwa's innovation, whereby now you have food tours. Yeah, it creates employment, something new, and we can also use the same platform to convince Professor to have food tours and taste this saga, which is very bitter, the bitter herbs.
I think Clement has raised up his hand. Maybe he wants you to comment on this. Clement, you can unmute yourself, Clement.
I want to add a point there. Like Professor saying, like the experience of Bland and Saruga is nothing okay. Now, when we talk about food tourism, is that some people, like the new trend of the future of food tourism, is that some people are traveling just to taste and sample different type of food and drinks. For me, when I'm traveling internationally, I only need to travel to drink beer. I mean, local beers that are like, let's say, I don't know which is our Kenyan local beer. People say Tusker. I don't think Tusker is a local beer. But we tend to say, like, when you come to Kenya, just taste Tusker. But like for me, when I go to a place, I want to try like the pure, what is indigenous, what is so authentic. I mean, like what they can say, okay, this is part of us. So it's part of what people are trying to go to places to experience. Just like if you are traveling, you might decide, okay, if you come to Kirinyaga, probably you are going to a specific place to run for a specific reason. So even the food thing is the same. Some people just travel to eat, to taste, like that.
Yeah, that is true, and I agree with the Clement. I had a student whom, whenever we travel to any country, was always eager to taste each and every kind of meal. He's eaten frogs, he's eaten snakes, just that way. And I think for us to do it is maybe the way we package. Instead of saying blood, the way Professor said, it can be scary to other people. We can look for better words to package, which will make somebody to be, can even maybe say, I don't know. Anyway, but I think, Clement, maybe that's on your side, if we can add something to make it more attractive. Now, back to what I was saying, also stimulating economies. And I think such kind of platforms like what we are having can also give insights on how food can be used to stimulate economy, not just the issue of mining minerals only. Yeah, also food can stimulate the economy. Yeah, then also reimagining tourism, what actually I think is our topic, and also how can food improve outcomes. Yeah. Then just to note, I think I have two members in the panel from Kabarak University. I have Faith Wandia, who is our Faith Wandia, who is our student leader in innovation. And I'm also joined with Shadrach Koech, though he's under the name of John Boyo. Shadrach Koech is a lecturer who is also in the Department of Innovation and Business Incubation. Yes.
So you're welcome. But now let's go, because time is almost out. Let's now go to this topic, the reimagining of tourism. And Professor was very heavy on the virtual, how to make this virtual. You know, many of us watch movies and the movie makes you even cry. The movie also makes you happy. Is there a way in the innovation world, Balongo, we can also venture into making the Kenyan tourism experience virtual?
Yeah, there is a way. Though, to my opinion, I think the best would be to blend both.
Blend, what do you think?
Blend both virtual and physical.
Okay, but now we have COVID, Balongo, and we've lost 92% of our visitors, and we still need the revenue.
I can't hear you.
Yes, we can make it virtual, because online is still untapped niche market. So it's yes, because it gives a traveler a taste of what awaits. So it gives them a decision to make a decision whether to come or not. On the other side, as a marketing gimmick, we can say it's yes, because like it gives, if we relate with the food, it might give them an authentic cooking experience. But again, we might say it can be done virtually or not virtually in two ways. So for a no, we can say, like you have just said, I mentioned about music and film industry. That's where the experience can be delivered virtually, like 100%. But when it comes like to food, if I show you like right now how I cook, you can get the whole concept, yes, but you are not able like to tell how it might taste. You can only reimagine, okay, it might taste like this. So virtual is okay, yes, people might get an idea how they expect this thing to be done. For instance, if I show people a virtual concept of a tour that I do, it gives them an idea, oh, this is a very nice tour, I should go and try, you see? But on the other side, if I like give the whole concept, it might not give somebody an experience. I mean, like, it doesn't give you that satisfaction, like when you are present and you're part of the experience.
And what Clement is saying is what I was saying. We blend the virtual and physical, or maybe in addition to the virtual. It's a very good concept, but to make it complete, after you've seen my cooking, I should be able to send it to you. If you cannot come, delivery to be made. I think, I don't know whether you can say that is value addition on the virtual, whereby now the food will be delivered so that now you can taste. Instead of swallowing saliva until you are full, now you get the real food.
Okay, very good. Okay, now in terms of jobs, because we are reimagining tourism, we know we need revenue and we need the jobs. So I'd like to have the last word from Balongo, Clement, and Professor. And please, for those who joined us, if you'd like to ask a question, just raise up your hand. There's a place you press, I'll see your hand, and I'll invite you. I don't know if Faith would like to say something, but your last word, Wilson.
Okay, my last word will be reimagining tourism. Virtual food tourism is a very good idea. Only that it should also be complemented with value addition, that is now the delivery, which will also now create jobs. Yeah, the company that now will be delivering the food from the source to the consumer, again, that will be creating the jobs, the advertising companies and so on. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if you've got a question before I ask Clement and Prof to make the last word from the participants. If there's no question, I can move on to Clement. If you have a question, you can raise up your hand, virtually, of course, or you can even do it physically if you show yourself on the video clip. Okay, I don't see a question, so I go to Clement. Your last comment.
What I would say is that we should capitalize more on domestic market because it's huge and wide and it's there for everyone. For instance, in Kenya, we have so many untapped destinations that we are trying to open up. Like currently, just like the last 1 month, we have been opening up north, all the way Marsabit, you know, all those desert places. We have a desert in Kenya, most people don't know about. So it's all about trying to explore. We find the best fit for everyone and we make it open out there, doing the right campaigns, and we make people travel because it's there and it's real.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to have Professor make his last comments. Professor?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As Clement has said, we must encourage domestic tourism. We people, we are here. COVID or no COVID, we are always around. We can tour the rest of the country, taste whatever is being offered there. And that will be very important to us and to generate income, generate jobs, and so on. And I want to comment on virtual tourism again. Balongo talks about blending virtual and physical. That is correct. But as Clement has said, let us first of all have virtual. We have assimilation of game viewing and so on, or a farm tour. That is using what we call INDA principle. You are creating awareness and your interest. Then you develop a desire, and the action will be coming now to taste the food the way Balongo is saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your input, and thank you all participants who joined us this morning. We were exploring the topic, reimagining tourism and food experience in Kenya post-COVID-19. And we've had very, very fruitful conversation. And one of the key emerging points is we go virtual, and going virtual means we have to invest in production in order to whet the market, the appetite for the market for new destinations, as Clement pointed out, because people might not be able to know that there are destinations that they can visit in the country. Professor has also emphasized the need for us to package for the domestic tourists. And of course, we had a guest input from Wilson of Kabarak University, who has shown the possibility of we need to blend both virtual and the physical so that everybody who has then seen what has been presented can actually do the testing. I thank you all, and we shall be going to the next session where we are hosting Wamkoya Didi. She's a lawyer and author and senior manager at the Kenya Wildlife Society, African Wildlife Foundation. She's going to be sharing what type of policy innovation should Kenya tourism and the food sector look at. And this session will be hosted by Akisa Wandera of KTN. So I thank you so much, and let us keep active on the Facebook, Twitter, and also we've got our portal where all the activities are on. Remember, we are also having exhibitions going on as we speak virtually. So it's a super good experience, and please don't miss out. And bye-bye, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.